Are you going to wed me? The woman who lived next door told me this when I was having trouble dealing with harassment. Nora is her name. A few years ago, her husband passed away. I've always found Nora to be helpful and friendly. But it appears that someone has also harassed her. She wants to wed me in order to resolve this issue. All right, let's get married. Nora and I were married after I agreed to her proposal. We carried on with our lives as usual until we came upon a startling reality while visiting a hot spring. The individual who had been bothering us was eventually exposed. He ultimately ended up in ruins. He won't trouble us ever again, I'm sure of it. Tom is my name. I'm a man who loves gardening, and I'm almost 60. I had been getting ready for my birthday, which I wanted to celebrate with Emily, my wife of 40 years, in a month. I was excited to celebrate with her because we are the same age and have birthdays that fall around the same time. But Emily died only a few months ago. She just returned to heaven in line with the natural order. There was no accident or incident of any sort. However, it came too quickly. I couldn't quite believe it since the day before she died. She had been in perfect health. Hey, tomorrow we should go shopping together. There is no more butter in the refrigerator. All right, I'll grab some milk too since we're running low. I couldn't have expected it because we were planning to shop that way. A few months after her death, I still find it hard to believe that she is no longer with me. Shopping and cooking for just one person are two activities that make me think of her absence. I'll probably need a lot of time to adjust to this. Fortunately, I have hobbies like gardening and am also busy educating the younger staff members at work, so I have things to do. It will be a long time before the agony of losing Emily goes away, but I can only hope that it will as long as I keep myself occupied. Make sure you take good care of the garden even after I'm gone. Obviously, I like tending to the flowers and the garden. However, there's a chance I'll leave before you, so if that occurs, please take good care of the garden. Yes, I know. I've been able to keep myself from giving up because of assurances like this. Therefore, my days didn't really change on the outside, even after Emily went away. But it appears that God has chosen to present me with yet another obstacle to overcome. Someone has been bothering my residents lately with different annoyances. I have to figure out how to put an end to this. Taking out the insulting letters left on the door and cleaning up the trash that was thrown at my door have become everyday tasks. I heard a voice coming from the next door house's backyard one early morning as I was heading to work. Tom, good morning. Enjoy your day today. Thank you, Nora. Nora is her name. A few years ago, she lost her husband in an accident. She is in her 40s, perhaps 20 years my junior, and is regarded as a stunning woman in the community. She frequently expresses sympathy for me, possibly because she also lost a spouse. My wife, Emily, also died. Our shared passion for gardening has strengthened our bond. She often provides me advice on how to sprinkle fertilizer or take care of flowers. She told me all about turning kitchen scraps into fertilizer just the other day. She has also given me time-saving cooking tips and helped me deal with sporadic pests, both of which have been really beneficial. Today is a lovely day. The rainstorm yesterday must have been difficult, isn't it? Yes, even with an umbrella, my clothes got soaked, and it was pretty cold. I'm addressed by my first name by Nora. That's because she and my late wife, Emily, used to communicate often. David, Nora's spouse, was a reserved individual. According to what I recall, he was the reserved type that died in his 30s. He listened more than he said, preferring to listen. Therefore, it was nearly always just Nora and myself when we spoke. She frequently brings up the subject of safety in the area. By the way, I've heard that a suspicious person has been seen lurking around here lately. Please be careful. Thank you for the concern. You should be careful as well. Living alone as a woman can be tough. Yes, thank you too. Since David passed away, Nora, who was once a full-time housewife, started working part-time. She works at the local grocery store like many other housewives, but sometimes she comes home late, which worries me. Nora Has anything strange been happening around your place lately? No, everything's been fine. I've heard rumors, but nothing out of the ordinary. I asked her this, recalling the recent harassment at my place. I wondered if her house had been targeted too, but she assured me that nothing had happened. That's good to hear. Well, then I'd better head to work. All right. Have a good day. After exchanging pleasantries, I left for work. I'm eager to catch the culprit behind the harassment, but with a full-time job, I can't stake out the house. Maybe it's time to buy a security camera and install it by the front door. After about half an hour of commuting, I arrived at work and went about my day as usual. But at some point, I started to feel as if someone was watching me. I also felt a slight chill. At first, I thought I might be coming down with a cold, but I was functioning fine at work, so that didn't seem to be the case. Is it just my imagination, or is someone watching me? I couldn't shake the feeling, so I glanced around several times, but I never caught anyone's eye, and I couldn't pinpoint the source of the feeling. Puzzled, I continued working until the end of the day, when a younger colleague approached me. "Tom, do you want to grab a drink after work today?" His name is Mike. He's in his 40s, and I've been mentoring him since he first joined the company. He's good-looking and has a great personality. He's quite popular within the company, but there's never any talk of him dating anyone. I sometimes ask him about his love life, thinking he might have a crush on someone, but he never gives anything away. Still, he's fairly sociable, especially with other guys. That's probably why he often invites me out for drinks after work. He likely just wants someone to vent his work frustrations to, but today, I can't accept his offer. As I mentioned before, I won't be able to go out for drinks for a while. I'm sorry, you went out of your way to ask, but ever since Emily passed, I just haven't been in the mood for it. I understand. It can't be helped. But even after she's gone, do you still love your wife, Tom? Yeah, I do. Emily was a great woman. From the time we started dating, she's always been by my side, supporting me. As I spoke fondly of Emily, various memories flooded my mind. Our first date, our wedding day, and many other moments, all of which brought back a sense of happiness. But the next thing Mike said caught me off guard. "If you love your wife that much, I guess you won't be getting remarried." Huh. I bet your wife, up in heaven, would get jealous if you did. I'm quite old now, at 60. I imagine very few people think about remarrying. It's not unheard of, but it's not something most people would do. Besides, I hadn't mentioned having feelings for anyone else, so I found his comment a bit strange. Why did he bring that up? I silently wondered about it, but chose to agree with him. Yeah, that's right. I'm devoted to Emily. When he heard this, he looked somewhat relieved, though I wasn't sure if it was just my imagination. Oh, by the way, yesterday Ken mentioned he got a new phone, so you'll need his new number. You were in the restroom when he said it. That happened while I was away. Thanks for letting me know. Ken is our manager. I took the note from his hand and checked what was written on it. Mike's handwriting is a bit quirky, making it slightly hard to read. But since the note only contained a name and some numbers, it wasn't difficult. However, something about the handwriting seemed oddly familiar, and it lingered in the back of my mind. Later that night, when I got home from work, I noticed several posters had been stuck to the front door. Each one contained insults directed at me. Since tomorrow was trash day, I decided to gather all the trash together, so I started peeling them off. I went inside the house and combined them with the household trash into one garbage bag. But before that, I decided to take a closer look at the posters. I thought there might be some clue that could lead to the culprit. The posters were just ordinary, A4-size white sheets. It's the kind of paper often used in offices. The notes said things like, "Move out," and "Don't get married." I'm not sure what to do. I was thinking of waiting a bit longer before contacting the police, but this is starting to get scary. Muttering to myself, I tried to piece together who might be behind this. Getting the police involved was one option, but there was no guarantee they'd find the culprit. They're busy, and if the case landed in the hands of someone who wasn't diligent, they might not investigate thoroughly. The key detail was the timing. The harassment always occurred twice a day, once in the early morning and once in the evening. If I could figure out who passes by the house at those times, I could narrow down the suspects. A security camera would help gather that information. I guess I should go buy one this weekend. With that thought in mind, I planned my next move. Aside from the timing, the harassment consisted of two main types: scattered garbage and offensive notes. While the garbage was random, the content of the notes could provide a clue about who harbored ill feelings toward me. From the note about moving out, it sounds like someone's upset about a neighborhood issue. But Nora hasn't mentioned anything, and the house on the other side is vacant. As I pondered over the notes, the doorbell rang. I opened the door to find Nora standing there. She looked anxious and said, "I need to talk to you." I invited her in and offered her some tea. Though she had looked tense at the door, her expression softened a bit once she sat down. I wondered what had happened to cause her distress. As I was thinking about this, she began to speak. "Actually, there's a man who's been persistently coming on to me lately. I don't have any feelings for him, but he keeps asking me to marry him. When I refuse, he stands outside my door for hours, and it's becoming a real problem." That sounds tough. I'm sorry to hear you've been going through that. I felt sympathy for her as she looked distressed. I was sure her late husband still held a place in her heart. Having someone she didn't care for coming on to her must have been nothing but a burden. If someone did that to me after just losing Emily, I'd hate it too. As I worried about her, Nora made an unexpected proposal. "Well, I know this might be an inconvenience, but could you please consider what I'm about to ask? It would just be an arrangement on paper, nothing more." After a brief pause, she looked at me seriously and said, "Will you marry me?" Her words left me speechless. In other words, she was suggesting a sham marriage to fend off the unwanted suitor. But agreeing to this felt like a betrayal of Emily. Still, I couldn't just leave Nora, who had always been so kind to me, in distress. What should I do? As I stood frozen, Nora continued, "We don't have to live together, and we don't need to have a wedding. If you find it hard to believe me, I'll give you something very personal as proof, my private diary." With a desperate look on her face, she handed me the diary, saying she had brought it from her house. It was a rather thick diary, probably several hundred pages long. It was filled with things I would never want anyone to know: complaints about people, feelings I kept hidden when I was upset, a lot of personal stuff. If I ever do anything disrespectful to you, feel free to reveal it. So, will you please consider marrying me? She knew she was making an unreasonable request and seemed deeply sorry for asking. When I looked at her, it was clear that she genuinely felt bad about putting this burden on me. With her going to such lengths, I found it impossible to refuse. "All right, let's get married." After silently apologizing to Emily in my heart, I accepted her proposal. 6 months passed. Our lives didn't change much from before. Even though we had filed the marriage paperwork, we stayed out of each other's way as much as possible. However, since we had let people know about the marriage, our neighbors found it curious. Tom and Nora got married, but they don't seem that close. Yeah, you'd think they'd be living together, but they're still in separate homes. The neighborhood housewives and others were gossiping like this, but I didn't care about the chatter around me. As long as Nora wasn't being harassed by that man anymore, that was all that mattered. "Nora, has that man stopped bothering you?" "Yes, thanks to you. But to make sure the lie doesn't get exposed, could you keep this up a little longer?" I was relieved that our plan had worked. However, some people saw my remarriage as a betrayal of Emily. How could he remarry so soon after his wife passed? I bet he was cheating on her while she was still alive. He seemed like such a devoted husband, but maybe he wasn't so clean when it came to women. I had my own thoughts about those comments, but Nora defended me, which helped ease the frustration. "You always cherished Emily, and it's awful for people to say such things. But I suppose this is partly my fault too. I'm sorry. It's all right, don't worry about it. I have no regrets." Even though Nora was the one who initially proposed this, it was ultimately my decision to agree, so I had no intention of blaming her. We would continue living the way that suited us best. One day, Nora won a pair of tickets to a hot spring trip in a raffle. It was for two, and she didn't want to waste them, so she invited me to join her on her day off. She came by to share some vegetables from her garden and handed me the tickets. What do you think? It would be a shame to let them go to waste. I don't have anyone else I'd want to travel with, and of course, we can have separate rooms. When Nora said that, I hesitated for a moment. Emily came to mind, but I couldn't ignore the slightly anxious look on Nora's face, so I agreed to go on the hot spring trip with her. All right, let's go together, but you don't seem to be in the best mood. Yeah, actually, that person has been approaching me again recently. Nora sighed heavily and explained the situation in more detail. The man who had been harassing her half a year ago hadn't been around for a while, but recently he'd started coming on to her again. I wondered what might have happened. Then it occurred to me that the harassment at my house started again around the same time. After I'd remarried Nora, the harassment had stopped completely, but recently it had begun again. Could it be connected somehow? That's scary, don't you think? You should tell the police. Yes, I'm planning to, but they don't always act quickly, do they? I want to do what I can on my own. I understood her reasoning. I thought the same thing half a year ago. After installing surveillance cameras, the person harassing us stopped coming to the house, but it's best to do whatever we can on our own unless things get out of hand. Let's make sure to show everyone how close we are on this trip. Let's create a lot of memories and spread the word when we get back. Thinking about it that way, I'm starting to get a little excited. Me too. You've always taken care of me, so I'm happy to help in any way I can. Thank you. With the plan set, I immediately started preparing for the trip. I hoped that by the end of this trip, the person causing us trouble would realize the futility of his actions. A few days later, we boarded the bullet train and headed to our destination. We made the most of the 2-day itinerary. The first day was spent visiting tourist spots together and creating memories until we were exhausted. The second day, we relaxed by touring hot springs and taking care of our bodies. Nora is still in her 40s, but I'm in my 60s. I can't push myself too hard, so I took it easy. I'm an old man now, so if there's somewhere you want to go, don't worry about me and enjoy yourself. I can't do that. I wouldn't enjoy myself if I left you behind. I'll stay and spend time with you too. During the trip, Nora and I shared the same room. We've known each other long enough to trust one another. I didn't think anything would happen that would betray Emily. The 2-day trip went smoothly. Everything was going well, without any trouble at all. But on the last night, an unexpected incident occurred. While Nora was changing her clothes in our room, I accidentally opened the door. At that moment, I caught sight of something shocking. There were painful-looking scars etched across her back. You saw, didn't you? She said with a rueful smile as she finished changing. The scars on my back were from a man I dated 20 years ago. With a sad expression, she explained that the man had recently been asking her to get back together. When I first married David, he seemed to have given up, but I guess that wasn't the case. When my husband died in the accident, he must have seen it as his chance. He kept pestering me until I remarried you. Nora's body trembled as she stared off into the distance. I still dream about that time sometimes. It's terrifying. I wake up in a panic. She was probably recalling those painful memories. Her voice began to tremble as she wrapped her arms around herself, looking vulnerable. He was a horrible man who would hit me whenever he was upset. But when I told him I had remarried, it felt a little satisfying. His face turned completely pale. Nora let out a small chuckle, then bowed her head toward me. Thank you for giving me the chance to get back at him, and thank you so much for indulging my selfish wish to get remarried. I scratched my head, feeling a bit embarrassed. I had no idea that Nora had such a complicated past. As I looked at her, I felt something stirring within me, a feeling I had been trying to suppress. and affection for her. I wanted to be there for her, to support her through the pain she carried. The desire to protect her and stand by her side grew stronger. She had been through so much, fighting to live her life while haunted by the shadows of her past. I found myself wanting to help her more, to be her support in any way I could. I opened my mouth to tell her how I felt, but before I could say anything, her phone rang, interrupting the moment. She apologized to me and answered the call. Almost immediately, her face turned pale. "You followed us all the way here. This is insane." It was clear she was in some kind of argument. I noticed that Nora's face had gone pale. It seemed like something serious had happened. When she hung up, I asked, "What's wrong?" "The man who's been harassing me, he's here at this inn. Apparently, he's been watching us from a distance the whole time. He's completely lost it, and he's demanding that I get back together with him." Nora was trembling. I gently rubbed her back to comfort her. What should I say to her, who has been living in fear of her ex-boyfriend and enduring it all this time? After thinking for a moment, I decided to take a bold approach. This is the perfect chance. Let's show him how strong our bond is. Once he sees that, he'll have no choice but to give up. Do you really think so? Yes. Don't worry. I'll protect you no matter what happens. As I spoke to her with confidence, she smiled, looking relieved. After that, I invited Nora to take a walk around the inn. We walked hand in hand, sometimes linking arms. After that phone call, if someone saw us getting along like this, they would surely be driven mad with jealousy and show up right away. Soon, I began to feel the weight of someone's gaze. That feeling was familiar to me. I had experienced it from time to time at the office. How could it really be? The thought crept into the back of my mind. After Emily's passing, during the busy days of the funeral, I spent a lot of time alone at home. During that time, I became overly sensitive to visitors, as if my sixth sense was kicking in. Now I was more aware of someone's presence than ever before. Tom. I looked back. Earlier, I saw him. What should we do? It's okay. I'm here with you. As I suspected, that man must be nearby. After walking for a while, the man approached us from behind and overtook us. Then, he blocked our path, standing right in front of us. He was wearing sunglasses and a mask. He looked to be in his 40s, about the same age as Nora. I thought there was no reason to wear sunglasses indoors, but maybe it was part of his disguise. "I can't believe you'd cheat on me with another man, and with him of all people. I can't stand it." It became clear that the person in front of us was someone with a very obsessive personality, speaking rapidly in an agitated state. His words rushed out. I recognized that voice, and the real realization shocked me. I stepped in front of Nora and faced him directly. "I can't believe it. So the man who's been stalking Nora, it's you?" Mike must have thought there was no longer any point in hiding. He took off his sunglasses, revealing his face, and scowled at me. I suddenly recalled the handwriting on the notes that had been left at my front door. I had found something familiar about it, and now I realized it closely resembled Mike's. But right now, protecting Nora was more important than dwelling on that. I spoke to him, keeping my tone calm and steady. "Here's the truth. Mike, Nora, and I love each other. We've crossed a line. There's no room for you in her life." Those words were completely false, but he seemed to believe them. Mike stood there, stunned, unable to move. He stared at us, eyes wide, for what felt like several long seconds. Then, as if snapping back to reality, he suddenly tried to cling to Nora. "No, tell me it's not true. We can still start over, right? Please don't leave me. I swear I won't lay a hand on you this time. Let's start fresh." His desperate pleading face and loud shouts were pitiful to witness. "It's not too late, right? Please say it is." Mike says that, but their relationship had fallen apart long ago. Even as an outsider, I could tell there was no chance for reconciliation. Everything he was doing was pointless. Someone who can't understand the feelings of others has no chance of finding happiness in a new marriage. I don't have any feelings for you anymore. It's far too late. No, please. I'll do anything. This time, I'll make you happy. I'll give you anything you want, and you'll never have to worry about money. It's not about that. Our relationship is completely over. That can't be. Mike's face turned deathly pale as he slumped to his feet. Tears streamed down his face as he continued to beg Nora for forgiveness, but it was all in vain. Please stop. You're being a nuisance. I'm Tom's wife now. He must have realized that no matter what, he couldn't sway her. He glared at me and hurled insults. Not only did you look down on me at work, but you've also taken away the person I love. How could you? I've been suffering under your thumb all these years, waiting for the day I could finally make her happy. I had no idea that the junior I had mentored and cared for harbored such resentment toward me. I had only ever tried to help him, but clearly he hadn't seen it that way. If he hated me that much, could he have been the one harassing my home? So you're the one who threw trash at my front door and left those notes, weren't you? Yeah, that was me. I hated you long before this, but when I found out you lived near Nora and she was getting close to you, I couldn't stand it anymore. Hearing his confession, everything made sense. Nora had only been kind to me, but Mike must have misinterpreted her actions. He had spiraled out of control, convinced that we were getting too close. So why did the harassment stop for those few months? I thought I could give up, but in the end, I couldn't. I couldn't forget about her. I could understand loving someone so deeply, but making the person you love suffer because of your own selfish actions is utterly misguided. If you really loved her, you'd want her to be happy. Forcing your love onto someone is not true love. He tried to maintain his tough exterior, but I think deep down, he realized the foolishness of his actions. The moment I said those words, Mike broke down in tears, collapsing to the ground. Afterward, we handed him over to the police, and the ordeal finally came to an end. Peace returned to our lives once more. However, our relationship as husband and wife would continue for a while longer. The reason was that I had come to know Nora's true feelings. Thank you for everything you've done for me. I'm sorry for dragging you into all of this. No, as I've said before, I don't see it as a burden at all. I enjoy spending time with you, Nora. I'm glad to hear that. I suppose it's time I tell you the truth. Nora confessed that she had been harboring feelings for me for quite some time. After Emily passed away, she had hoped to marry me, unable to let go of that desire in order to bring closure to her emotions. She wanted to experience a brief moment of happiness by becoming my wife. I had never noticed her feelings for me. I'm truly sorry for taking advantage of your kindness. It's true that I was troubled by Mike, but seeing her apologetic expression, I took the opportunity to confess my own feelings. The truth is, I have feelings for you too, so why don't we continue this relationship a little longer? Though I still had love for Emily, I had also fallen for Nora. I don't know if I'll be able to sort out these feelings or if there's still a chance for them to reignite. Even so, we decided to spend a little more time together to avoid any regrets. As for the journal Nora had given me, I decided to return it. Now that we had mutual trust, we no longer needed such a thing. 3 years later, Mike was released after serving his sentence. During that time, a shocking truth had come to light. The trash Mike had scattered in front of my house had actually been stolen from another property. That resident had been storing their trash in their yard until collection day. Mike had taken it without permission, and the homeowner had filed a complaint against him, leading to a series of disputes. Why do things like this keep happening to me? In his frustration, Mike hurled insults at the victim and even resorted to physical violence. After his outburst, it was clear he hadn't shown any remorse, so he was sent back to prison. Though Nora and I had filed a complaint as his victims, we didn't want to escalate the situation, so we let it go after receiving an apology from him. However, we didn't expect that he'd end up facing legal trouble over something else. It seems his rotten nature was there all along. After being released, I heard rumors that Mike remained alone, never finding love again. He had, of course, then fired from the company, and although he found work elsewhere, he struggled with constant mistakes. Apparently, he became so apathetic that he was now under medical care. Meanwhile, my relationship with Nora blossomed, and we grew closer than ever. We often went out together, even taking trips. I had come to fully realize that I loved Nora. When I properly proposed to her, she accepted, and I was overjoyed. At that moment, I said, "I want to make you happy. So will you continue to be my wife?" "I'm so happy. It feels like a dream that this day has come," she replied. Of course, my love for Emily hasn't faded. I still cherish her memory, but I can't imagine my life without Nora anymore. Even though our relationship began under false pretenses, it's genuine now. I intend to hold on to this feeling dearly from now on, and I'll make sure that my love for her doesn't become selfish like Mike's.